So why is inequality growing? And I'm going to now present a double onion model of growing inequality. So this is from data about the US mainly, but it's also applicable to other industrialized countries and also industrializing countries. So let's just take a look at the data. It's quite interesting. I mean, these are just thoughts I had in my head. And at some point I said, okay, why don't I take a look at the data and see if this is really true? And it was. Okay, so this is what I found. Now, these are market capitalization of firms from 1990. And the top firms are ExxonMobil, IBM, Walmart, Bristol Myers, Lowe's, and those are the top five, and then so on. Okay, 1990, this is the market capitalizations of the different firms. Fast forward to 2025, and these are now the market capitalizations. And what are the top firms? Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, and so on. Okay, now here is a statistic. We should make it set up. Okay, so let's look at the ratio of the sum of market capitalizations of the top 10 firms to GDP, and this is all in nominal dollars. Market capitalization of the top 10 firms in 1992, if you add them up, it was $530 billion. GDP was about $5.9 trillion, and the ratio was 8.89. What happened in 2025? Well, you go forward to 2025, the market cap of the top 10 firms now adds up to $25 trillion, up from $0.5 trillion. And the GDP has increased to about $29 trillion. So the ratio of market cap of top 10 to GDP 2025 is 87.89%. That's a pretty startling increase, right? From 8.89% to 87.89%. So the largest firms have become much more profitable compared to the rest of the economy. Okay, so that was the first data for the first part. Now the second part is what's happening within firms. Well, I mean, within firms, like, people, like, they measure this, and this data is available. There are various, you can have other measures, but I'm just looking at one measure, something which is like easily available to me. Yeah, I do think about a lot of different things, so I don't necessarily go looking for a lot of data. I just view the world, and I have an idea what's happening in the world, and then I'm satisfied with the data work that I do. So here's the work that I'm looking at now. In 2021, the ratio of the CEO to typical worker compensation was 399 to 1. So they were getting about 400 times. The CEO was getting about 400 times the typical worker. And this was up from 366 to 1 in just over a year. It was up from 366 to 399. And believe it, back in 1965, it was just 20 to 1. And in 89, it was 59 to 1. So what you see over here is that the income of the CEOs, and when you have income, that's also a proxy for the entire wealth, economic wealth. So the income of the CEOs has gone from 20 to 1 in 65 to 59 to 1 in 80 to 400 to 1 in 2021. Now, there's some debate about how the CEOs to typical workers' pay should be measured, but I'm looking at a time trend, so it's true that the differences in pay is really escalated very much through time. So, now this is the double onion. The first onion is this is what it was before. This is what firms were like before. There was some amount of inequality. Some firms were, compared to the average market capitalization, there were some firms which were below the average and some were above, and overall it looks something like this. So this onion basically is the width of the onion is what is the density of firms at a particular ratio. So before it was like this, and now it has become more concentrated towards the top. And this is like, I'm just saying that, okay, it's a log scale. Now, this is not based on actual numbers which I've made. This is a visualization of what's happening. And then there's the growing inequality within firms. So the above was a growing inequality across firms, and now there's a growing inequality within firms. So you combine these two, and again you get this onion, right? You get something like a onion which is showing greater inequality over time. And now this is the change in the onion for earnings of you can say households or individuals over time. Before, it was something which looked like this, and now it's something which looks like this. So this is the ratio, and it's a log scale. So at the average, the ratio will be 1, because this is ratio of income to average income, and the log will be 0. So this blue line on the y-axis is 0, and what has now happened is that a lot of people have been pushed down below the blue line, and so this is just a visualization of the increasing inequality. Now, if you want to kind of, from a graph like this, if you want to say, okay, what is the ratio for log minus 0.2 to minus 0.1, how many individuals lie in that range? So you just have to integrate, okay? Because this is the density, the width is the density, so you just got to integrate. Okay, so obviously like there's inequality growing, but there's a very pernicious effect of this inequality, which just goes beyond simply and goes beyond simple economics, economic suffering. And that pernicious effect of that inequality is that a couples in financial distress are more likely to see their relationship fail. And what this diagram is also saying is that this increasing inequality is pushing people, this red line, I'm just, again, it's a visualization. So the red line I'm saying is a minimum income ratio below which finances will cause severe stress in a majority of relationships. And what is happening is that as that stress increases because of growing inequality, more and more couples find their relationships fail. Is it really true that economic hardship leads to greater failure of relationships? Well, I found some interesting data. That's just a thought I had, and then I found some data. I found these graphs. So this sickly economy, which sort of looks like a witch's hat. That's what my wife told me. I was showing her this thing, and she said, "Oh, that's a witch's hat." So I said, "Okay, it's a witch's hat," but it's actually a sickly economy. To transfer it to a healthy economy, what you need is income fairness and food affordability. You need these two programs. Income fairness increases the wage rate earned by those who are the lower earning people, and food affordability makes the government pay a certain part of the price of food which they purchase. Now, when you do these things, this sickly onion, dysfunctional economy, will become a healthy onion. Okay, what is also you can see over here, which is also a thing that we need for a healthy economy, is that there is this area at the bottom which is green. And what is that green region? The green region is guaranteed government employment. And again, I said, you don't want to give handouts. People who want employment should always find employment. They may not always find it in the free market, but so the government should guarantee employment. And why are they like at the bottom of the onion? Well, they're at the bottom of the onion is because government employment will usually lack incentives and accountability. So we want them to graduate onto the free market. So the black region is a free market. The green region is government guaranteed employment. And then if somebody just doesn't want to work in the free market, they just want like just a guaranteed employment. They can work in the government guaranteed employment. They'll earn less than they would likely in the free market, but still their earnings should be good enough to keep them above that red line.